team. Today we're going to do Excel Chapter 2 Grader, which is also called Inland Jewelers 1.5. It asks you to download the file. When you do, you need to go ahead and file save as again. I always advise to my students that they put a 1 for attempting to upload it the first time. If you end up doing this assignment again, save it again and put your 2 or your 3. And then here at the end, type your first and last name capitalized so you know which file to upload for grading. Let's get started. All right, step 1, we download and we save our file. And now we're going to go on to step 2. Insert a function in B2 to tell us to display the current date from your system. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see where we're concentrating now. We're going to concentrate on cell B2. I'm going to turn it yellow. You don't need to at home. We're going to come to the Formulas tab. On the Formulas tab, we're going to go to date and time. There's a whole lot of different functions to calculate date and time. We want to return the today function, so we're going to come all the way down here to the today, which returns a current date formatted. So, for example, today we're going to have March 30th, 2017 as our date returned, but if we do this tomorrow, it'll open up March 31st. So let's click today. You can see what our formula looks like, today with 2 sets of parentheses, and it tells us this is a volatile argument. That means this formula is active and will change and bring different dates up depending on what date you use. Say OK, and as I told you, it's March 30th, 2017 today, and we have step 2 completed. I always suggest you save after each. Howdy team. We are going to work on step 3 now with Excel cell B2 selected right here. It asks us to auto-fit the format. When you see a cell with the number symbols, hashtags, or pound sign they're called, that means not that you've made a mistake, but that the column is not wide enough to read the data. One way to change this is to go over to the Home tab, to the Cells panel, to Format, and come down to, we're going to Column Width Auto Fit Column Width. So when we do that, Excel will see how much data is in the widest part of the column and make it so we can read it all. And there we have it. One other way to do this is, say you're seeing the hashtags like you are, you can put your cursor between each column till it makes a cross. See how it makes a cross there? Double click and Excel will auto fit for you. I believe the way the assignment is looking for you to do this today, however, is to go over to the Cell panel on the Home tab, click Format, and go ahead and go down to Auto Fit Column Width. I'd save, and that's the end of step 3. Step 4, insert a lookup function in cell C5. So we're kind of finished over here with cell B2. We're going to come over here to cell B5. And yours should look like this. And I'm going to click right here. And I'm looking, so you know where I'm working at. I'll make it red. It says, let's make a lookup function in cell C5 to display the ring cost for the first student. All right, let's talk about this just for a moment before we get into this formula. Dotson has bought a silver ring, and what we're trying to understand is how much Dotson's going to pay for that silver ring. Well, right here, if we look down in our table array, a silver ring costs $400, right? And a gold ring costs $550. And a titanium ring costs $700. And a platinum ring costs $750. The reason why I'm giving you some different colors is for you to realize that when we make a VLookUp formula, it will look in this table and determine if Dodson bought a silver ring, it'll return a price of $400, and if Broadnax bought a gold ring, it will return a price of $550, and so forth all the way down the column. VLOOKUPs look up to a table for multiple components. Let's get started in making our formula, right? So I'm going to click in the cost. I'm going to go to my formulas tab. I'm going to go to what's called lookup and reference formulas. I'm going to click that arrow and go all the way down to VLOOKUP. The function argument pops up and says, where do you want your lookup value? Well, we want to determine the lookup value by ring type. So I'm going to click into cell B5. And it's now asking in the lookup, where do we look up the information for that value of the type of ring? Well, we're going to look it up in our ring type cost table area. So I will actually click cells A16 to cell B19. However, I do not want Excel to go past these rows or past these columns. I only want them to look in these 4 rows and in these 2 columns of ring type and cost. So I'm going to highlight my array of A16 to B19, and I'm going to hit the F4 button. Now, if you're on a laptop, you may need to click the FN key as well as F4. FN allows you to raise to those other values. If you can't click those, you can also just insert a $sign before each column and before each row to tell Excel we are going to have a relative cell reference of only A16 to B19. Column index is where do we find those costs of those rings? Well, that happens to be in the second column of our table array. So I will type 2 there. And in the range lookup function, I will put a logical argument of false. Once we have B5 for our lookup value, our table array of A16 to B19 with those absolute values represented by $signs, column index of 2, and a range lookup of false, we're ready to go with this formula. Click OK, and we will check. Did Dodson, who bought a silver ring, pay $400? Yes, he did. Let's see how much titanium Birch would pay for the titanium. We can go ahead and go on down to our next question, which was to tell us to move those step 5 is telling us to copy the formula down from cell C5 all the way down the range. So I can click on cell C5 and see this little autofill handle I get here with this little green dot. I make my cursor go to the black cross, I pull it down, and now we filled in our formula all the way down our cells. What I want to check now is to make sure that those cells have given us the right value. So let's see, a titanium ring should be $700. We have a titanium ring there for $700 and another titanium ring here for $700. I feel pretty confident that we have indeed calculated the right values and the cost of the rings. I would save at the end of step 5. Step 6. Apply the accounting number format to the range C5 to C11. So I'm going to click C5 to C11. I'm going to come to my Home tab, and then I'm going to come to the Number panel. By picking the accounting formatting, we move the $signs to the left, we add a decimal point, and 2 more places to the right of the decimal point for the hundredths place, tenths and hundredths place, and then we have a look of money. But what's key is our $signs are lined up on the left of the cell and our decimals are lined up all the way straight. And now you can see accounting format. I'm going to save for step 6. Step 7. Insert an if function in cell E5. So I'm going to click here in E5 so you know where we're working at. And calculate the total due. So my Dotson, who bought a silver ring, is going to cost $400, but he's also going to have it personalized. When he goes to have it personalized, there's an additional 5% charge, and that happens to be way down in cell B21. And here's cell B21. So I want you to see where we're going to next. We're going to grab that from cell B21. So we need an if function that says if yes, if Dotson, yes, paid for the personalization, then his $400 ring is going to cost 5% more for a surcharge. Let's get started. We're going to click in cell E5, go up to the formulas bar, and now we're actually looking for a logical argument. If this is true, then we need to apply this, which we're applying a personalization surcharge. We'll go to the logical formula book and we'll come all the way down 3 spaces to if. If function is a logical check. If it's true, it's going to add the 5%, and if it's false, it's not going to add anything else in our case. So we're going to click the if. A function argument box appears, and our logical test is if D5 equals yes. And I do want to wrap a quote around the capital word yes, because I'm telling Excel that yes is actually not a numerical value, it's a word value. And if yes, if it's true, then I want Excel to take the cost of the ring, which is cell C5, shift and plus, and parentheses, to the cost of the ring times, which is shift 8, our cell B21. I click B21 and I close my parentheses. Now what is important here is we need another absolute cell reference. The surcharge for a yes is always going to be 5%, or the value that's in cell B21. We could actually change the value of B21, and our formula will automatically calculate it in case it goes up to 6 or 7%. So we need an absolute cell reference. I'm going to highlight cell B21. I'm going to hit my F4 key, and then I have wrapped dollar signs around both the column and the row. So Excel will only look for the value in cell B21. And then if the value is false and the ring is not personalized, or it says no, then the only value Excel should return is simply the cost with no additional. So up here in the function bar, you can see how we made our formula, and let's click OK and see if our if function calculated. Our $400 ring now should become 5% more than $400. And it did, $420. Now we're back with step 8. Copy the formula from E5, which is where we were working, all the way down the range to E6. We click on cell E5 and we get an autofill handle. It's going to copy our formula all the way down and compensate for those yes, no answers. And that's the end of step 8. Step 9. Apply the accounting number format to the range E5 to E11. So I'm going to click E5 and drag down to E11 to highlight the whole thing. I'm going to go to the Home tab, come over to the Number panel, click on Accounting Formatting, and move so we have 2 decimals and a dollar sign to the left of the cell. I'm going to save, and that's the end of step 9. Step 10. Insert a function in cell G5. So we're working over here in monthly payments. to calculate the first student's monthly payment using an appropriate relative and absolute cell reference. It's asking us to use the PMT function. A PMT function calculates monthly payments. And if you'll look, we have a $400 ring that added on personalization that's going to cost us $420. But if you'll look right down here, down column F, you can see that he's going to make payments for 1 year or 12 months. But way down here, Ranger, who bought the platinum ring for $750, he's going to make payments for 3 years. So we need to be able to compensate for the difference in payments as well as making 12 monthly payments over each year period. We're going to click in cell G5. We're going to go ahead and go to our Formulas tab. And this time, we're going to pick the financial book. We're going to go down to PMT, and be careful, there's lots of financial formulas, and there's even a couple that start with P. Make sure you get the PMT, which calculates payments for a loan based on a constant payment and an interest rate. We get a function dialog argument box, and we need to calculate our rate. Now, I'm going to pull this down so you can see where we're looking at. And we need to go a little bit smaller. So you can see that we're going to be down here with an interest rate. We're going to be working with an interest rate, and I'm going to go ahead and make that yellow so you need to know which color. And we're no longer working with the personal charges, the surcharge for the monogramming. We already did that, and we don't need our totals right at the second. We will in a minute, but right now our focus is on interest rate, which I was going to make yellow, and on monthly payments. So I'm going to click in my cell G5. I'm going to head on over to my formulas and look for that financial PMT again, since I made some changes. Here's my PMT. And what we need to do is come up with a rate that we're going to be charged for that interest. It's down here in cell B22. Now, we don't want Excel to keep calculating down the column. We only want it to grab the rate from cell B22. So again, we'll be doing our absolute references. We can highlight that and click cell F4, or we can put a $ before the B column and before the 22nd row. Then we also need to tell Excel that our rate will be divided over a 12-month period of time. So we type divide 12. You can also see it up here in the function bar. And now we need to know what period of months that's going to be. It's going to be 12 months. And then we need to be able to calculate, That needs to be, the NPER needs to be F5 for how many years we're going to have this charge of our monthly payment, but then we also need to multiply that by the 12 months. So our first person, Dotson, will be paying for 12 months, but remember, Ranger down here, who's going to borrow the money for 3 years, is going to be paying for 36 months. And now we're going to come down to the present value. The present value would come back as a negative value. Excel would calculate as a negative value, and we're going to put a negative sign, so a negative times negative will give us a positive value back, and we're going to click the total amount. So we'll have a monthly payment with a positive amount. Then all we do is say OK. And Dodson, who bought the silver ring, will be paying $35.57 a month. Step 11. Copy the formula from G5 all the way down the range G6 through G11. We'll take our autofill handle after we've clicked in cell G5 and fill our values down the column. We now have our monthly payments, and our young man who's going to be paying out over 3 years will be paying about $22.90 a month. That's the end of step 11. Step 12. Apply a counting number format to the range G5 through G11. So I would click G5 and drag it down to G11. And it looks like we already have accounting, but it's more of a currency. Excel knew you were doing payments and it returned a dollar symbol, but since we're going for accounting to have our decimals lined up and our dollar symbols on the left, we come to the Home tab, to the Number panel, and click Accounting and Save. And that is the end of Step 12. Step 13. Calculate totals in cell C12, which is right here, and I'm going to hit my Control key, and cell E12, and cell G12. By holding the Control key, I could actually do all three calculations at once. I'm going to come up to AutoSum on the Home panel. It can also be found in the Formulas panel right here. I'm going to go back to my Home panel though. I'm going to click the sigma right on the front. It will sum all three up. Look, I have hashtags, so I need to double click so we can see between those columns and save. That's the end of Step 13. Step 14, apply number formatting to cells C12. I'm going to click C12. I'm going to hold my Control key. I'm going to click E12 and still holding my Control key, and I'm going to click G12. Now I'm going to come up to the Home tab, Number panel, and I'm going to make sure that I have accounting formatting selected. And now my dollar signs are on the left, and I have two decimals. I will save, and that's the end of Step 14. Step 15. Set a 0.3 left and right margin to ensure that the page prints on one page. When I do this, I go to Page Layout, I go to Margins, and then I come down to Custom Margins. We won't be changing all top, left, bottom, and right margins, only the left and right. Go to Custom Margins, and over here you can see, you can click your left and right margins, but there's not an exact 0.3. So we literally need to erase and type 0.3 for our, 0.3 for our left margin and 3/10 for our right margin. Now that's exactly what we need for margins, but we're going to go on to Step 16, and in Step 16, it's going to ask us for a custom footer. So I'm going to stay on the Page Setup dialog box, and then I'm going to go and add a custom footer. I'm going to go to the third tab. I'm going to click Custom Footer, and it asks me to do 3 sections. On the left section, I type my first and last name. I hit the Tab button. In the center section, it asks me to find the sheet name, which happens to be the third icon away from the right side. And then I'm going to hit Tab, and it asks me to insert the file name. It actually looks like a miniature iconic cell, and so I'm going to click that and click OK. You'll get a print preview seeing your first and last name, the name of your sheet name, and the name you saved your document as. Click OK, and that's the end of Step 16. Now, Step 17, we are asked to save the workbook, close Excel, and submit to my IT lab for grading. I'm going to click Save, and we're done. Do your best.